Hello, everyone, and welcome to HE Podcasts. We took a little bit of a break when the situation between Palestine and Israel happened. Situation. I don't think that's what you even call it. The colonization process happened. So we took a little bit of a break. I think all of us are feeling the depth of it all. So we decided to take a step back, see how we can help our brothers and sisters, and what is it we can do. Be a voice for the voiceless, to be a helping hand. There are only so many ways we can help, so this is one of them. So we decided to speak to the people of Palestine that we know personally, and we are grateful that some of you have stepped forward, and we are now going to be airing episodes about the history of Palestine, about people with first-hand experience, about people with family there right now. And the series is taking a bit of a shift. We will be back because we have shot a whole season and we can't wait for you to hear it, but we are taking a bit of a shift to talk about what matters most right now, and that is Palestine. Thank you for watching.
شدوا بعضكم يا أهل فلسطين، شدوا بعضكم ما ودعتكم رحلة فلسطين، ما ودعتكم عوارك صيني لشتب بالحبر عوارك صيني.
So, tell me a little bit about your parents' history in Palestine.
So it would be parent because I'm mixed. My mom is American, though she is linked in a funny way. But my dad was born in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. And when he was born as a Palestinian refugee because my grandparents had to leave Palestine. They grew up, my grandparents, Teta and Sido, they were born in Palestine. So my grandfather, Sido, he's from Ramla, and Teta, she's from Jaffa. And they grew up there. And when they got married, obviously it was after 1948 that they got married. They got married, I think, in 1958 or 1959, because my dad was born in 1960. And they lost their home, they lost everything, and then they came to Saudi Arabia, where my grandfather worked what is now Aramco. And yeah, he became a Saudi citizen many years later. So my dad and my aunt and one of my uncles, they were born Palestinians. They were Palestinian refugees living in Saudi Arabia. And then eventually they were granted Saudi citizenship because of the contribution that my grandfather made to Saudi Arabia through the work that he did.
Why did they have to leave?
So my grandfather and my grandmother left at different times, and then they got married, and then they left together. But so I'll talk more about my grandmother, 'cause she was from Jaffa. Her family was the first to leave, and then my grandfather. They were kicked out of their house. It was taken away from them, and she was, I don't know what the route was, but she's told the story many times that she has a fear of water because when this happened, she was put on a boat with her sister and her other family members, and she was terrified because while they were sailing, her sister had a baby and the baby passed away and they had to throw it overboard. And since then, she's afraid of water. She doesn't go near the pool. Even though she has a pool at her house, she doesn't go near it. She's afraid of swimming. She's afraid of water. She doesn't like going to the beach. She doesn't like any of that stuff because settlers came, like, this is our house now. And her family had to move. And
so it's true. It does happen.
It does happen. It really does. They come and they kick you out. Yeah.
So and it's not fiction. It's not.
No. They really do that. And even I still have family members that I've never met The siblings of my grandparents and their kids still live in Palestine. And no, it happens. It definitely happens. And actually, what's interesting is my grandfather, so he came to Saudi Arabia, but his brothers and sisters, they went all over. He has two brothers, they went to Spain. They ran away and went to Spain. Some of them are in Jordan. Some of them also came to Saudi. Some of them are still in Palestine, or they have passed away now. They're old. But their children are there. But yeah, that's what happens. They come and they tell you, this is my house now.
When did things change?
I mean, that's a hard question because it's little, well, it's little and a lot over time. If you look at a map of Palestine from 1940 until now, you can see it, how it just expands. Israel expands and expands and expands, and Palestine gets smaller, smaller, smaller. And then it got divided into Gaza and the West Bank, and little by little it's taken more and more. So I don't know if that answers the question. It's just, I think a good example that people can remember is last year, Sheikh Jarrah, like, just people like, this is my house now. People just come like, well, your house is no longer yours. Your house is this person's house, and we've given it to this person, and they come in and they take your house, and they tell you, you need to leave. Where do you go? Not my problem, but you need to leave.
And does she tell you how it happened?
No, I think when she tells it, it's more about the shock, the feeling, and more emotion rather than the actual how, because it happened, well, more than 60 something years ago. I know that my grandpa said that where he used to live, he said this to me many years ago, that, so where he lived, there was an orange orchard. He used to have a lot of, farming around him. And he liked to go to the garden and the farms and stuff. He liked to pick oranges and stuff. He said, it's all gone. There's just flags and it's all paved over and all of that. It's all gone. But neither of them, I mean, I know that they were kicked out, but they don't talk about the process. And I think for my grandfather, it happened while he was away, because he did study university before he came back, and then they got married, and then they came to Saudi. He went to university in Egypt and came back, and then they got married, and then they came to Saudi.
And how do they feel?
They feel like they've always felt. They feel upset. They feel betrayed that this was let happen by the world. But I think also that I know that they watch the news. My grandfather is 93 this year, so he has a little bit of dementia, so he doesn't know exactly what's happening right now. But my grandma's very sharp. Tata's very sharp. And she feels very positive when she sees people protesting and that, people are not okay with it. Obviously, it's very upsetting to see that after how many years since they were young, this was happening to them, and it's still happening to the people around them and to their family members and my family, people I've never met, but they have, that they grew up with their siblings, their nieces, nephews, great nieces, great nephews. I have one of my Tata's sisters texts me, and I've never met her, but she's like, hi, I heard that you are the granddaughter of my sister. And, I was like, yeah, I've never met you, but it's, she knows them, it's her siblings. And, she feels heartbroken that that's still happening to them. She feels heartbroken that my dad's cousin, so her nephew, lost two of his kids a few days ago in what happened. That's unbelievable. And it is a betrayal that this is still happening. But there is still hope because people are not okay with it.
Yeah. So sorry about that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cry because even though I've never met them, I know that it's really hard. And they are my family. Even if they weren't my family, this is happening to somebody's family. It's happening to somebody. And it's not okay.
No, it's not. What are some myths that you think are going around?
Oh, there's a lot. But I think the biggest one that I think is very important to debunk is that this is an issue of religion. It's not. It's not. It's not an issue of religion. It's not Muslims versus Jewish people. It's not. I know that saying that helps fuel the fire. It helps fuel, the justification to punish us for being we're not anti-Jewish. I'm not anti. It's not about religion. Palestinians are Christian, they're Jewish, they're Druze, they're Muslim, Palestinians are whatever religion. It's not about religion. Ethnically, they're Arab, yes. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that this is an ethnic cleansing. This is a genocide. This is about people who are not a specific race or whatever. It's not about the religion of being Jewish. If it were, this would be very different. It's not. There are Christian Palestinians who are being killed. Churches have been bombed, And on the flip side, there are some of the biggest protesters and supporters of, stopping this genocide are Jewish people of the Jewish faith. It's not about religion. It's a humanitarian issue.
Why do you think it's allowed to happen?
I don't want to get in trouble for my answer, but I think that some people who have certain positions of power, and they care more about their personal interests than the lives of others. And actually, I'll paraphrase. Joe Biden in 1986 had a speech where he said, he said this specifically: if there weren't an Israel, the United States would have to create one to ensure their interests are being met in the United States, in the Middle East. The United States' interests are being met in the Middle East. If there wasn't an Israel, they'd have to create one. And he said that. So the interests of some people, places, parties, or whomever are more important than the lives, perhaps, of others or the interests of others. It's a rat race. Everyone's in it for themselves. And some people don't care about who gets lost in it. And that's a quote. He really said that, and you can look it up.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah.
And how do you think we can help the everyday person that's feeling for Palestine? How do you think they can help? Because we know that donations are not really the answer.
Right. So I'm going to say this as a private citizen, as my First Amendment right. I have the right to voice my opinion and my view on this. I'm just saying that because it's my right to say this. I think that the number one thing is don't stop talking about what's happening. That's number one. But also, yes, donations, it's really difficult to control the flow of money, where it goes, when you want to donate. However, you can control who you don't give it to. I believe that BDS works. I believe in boycotts and sanctions. I believe in that. And, we cannot force a country to do it as a policy, but I believe as an individual, you have all the strength in the world to do that. I have seen the stock market trends. I have seen what has been happening, and it does work. That's how South Africa was toppled. It wasn't because people were outraged with more moral disgust. It was because economically and financially it was not sustainable for them to continue apartheid in South Africa. It wasn't. At the end of the day, it wasn't benefiting them anymore. So it's still not perfect, but economics plays a bit. If economics is the justification for this, it's also for allowing this to happen. It's also, something that can be hinder the support of having genocide happen. You need money to fund war.
Yeah, good point. Is there anything you'd like to say to educate anyone who's watching this on the matter that isn't not up to speed, but doesn't have enough background?
There are a lot of good resources. There are a lot of people actually who have written a lot of things. And I actually know one of them personally. Allah yarham, he passed away. Raja'i Busayla was a good friend of mine. And that's actually how my parents are connected, is my grandfather grew up around the same place that this person grew up. And they knew of each other because Raja'i is completely blind. He has no eyes. And my grandfather has one eye. And so, you can refer to them that this is the person with no eyes and this is well, that's not their defining characteristic, but this is how it got to know that they both they lived around the same neighborhood, but also or grew up around the same neighborhoods, I'll say, but they also went to the same university in Egypt. And so, as I said, my grandfather, he ended up getting married and going to Saudi Arabia. Raja'i went to America and went to Indiana, and specifically he taught at Indiana University of Kokomo, which is where my mom grew up. And when she was a little girl, she knew of him and saw him all the time. So my parents were actually connected way before they got married and knew each other. But he has written some stuff. He has written a lot of poetry, and he has a book about his own personal experience of what happened to him and his family and the people he knows. And he was actually really good friends with Edward Said, who I also really recommend to read his work. There's Noam Chomsky and Norman Finkelstein. They're also really good. And I've actually met Norman Finkelstein in person when I was in university. And I guess what they write is quite lengthy, and those are books and stuff if you really want to get into it. But if you want a good, cute, short, summary of or like facts about it, like FAQ, not FAC. I mean, you can get facts too. Decolonize Palestine is a really good website and good resource. There's Paliroots. There's a lot of people that you can listen to who talk about it, just giving, the brief overview. But also what's interesting is President Truman's library has a lot of historical facts about how America was involved. And that's, presidential. It's, things that he had, like documents from, back then, how the United States was involved in helping establish the state of Israel. And they acknowledge that this was what happened. You can listen to old speeches by Churchill, who also talks about it, and his disregard for lives of certain groups of people. Actually, in his speeches, he talks about Palestine, America, so United States, and what happened with Native Americans, and also what happened in Australia, and his point of view and how that happened. So there's a lot of different websites, media materials to look through.
Thank you for that. That was good. And the final question is, how are you feeling personally?
Oh, it's very depressing. I cry sometimes because I feel so not helpless. I feel like if there was something I could do to change or to make an impact, I would do it in a heartbeat, but I don't know what to do. And that's very upsetting. But I also feel a lot of hope seeing that people are protesting. It gives me hope that it's not just, I know that throughout the Arab and Muslim world, people have been, or the global South actually, not just the Arab and Muslim world, but people in general in, the underdog, they're not really, but they call them the underdog countries. The global South have always supported this. But it really warms my heart to see that it's not just us, because we get ignored. People think that we're not important or that we are all corrupt and we don't know what we're saying and people just disregard when it's not just us that's saying it. And that really gives me, I've never lost hope, but that gives me even more hope that this can end, because this has gone on way too long. People have lost generations. Families have been wiped out. For how long and for what? So yeah, I feel resilient and hope seeing other people also protest. But yeah, sometimes I feel really like crying and helpless. It's unbelievable.
Do you feel targeted being a Palestinian?
Not living in Bahrain, but when I was in university in the UK, I did. And I actually had incidents where I felt unsafe telling people that I was actually attacked by somebody. And that was, it brings me a lot of shame. I felt so much shame, and I still feel a lot of shame. But after I was attacked for being Palestinian, I stopped telling people that I was Palestinian. I told them I'm Saudi. And it's not a lie. I have a Saudi citizenship. I'm from Saudi Arabia. Yes, 100%. I own that. But I feel so much shame that I got scared to tell people where I'm from, because I have that choice to say something else. Other people don't. My other friends when university, because I was part of the Palestine Society, and we were having it was an event. It was like a collaboration with other societies at the university, cultural event. And we had a food stand of Palestinian food, and I think I had mulkhiyah. But anyway, this girl comes up to me and she's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is mulkhiyah. It's a traditional, because I know the Egyptians also have mulkhiyah, but we cooked it the Palestinian way." I'm like, "This is, a traditional Palestinian food." She's like, "You're being anti-Semitic." I don't know what. A few minutes later, the next thing I know, people come dressed up with shirts saying IDF and I don't know what, telling me that they're gonna hurt me or they're gonna call the police. I'm gonna get arrested for being anti-Semitic and I don't know what. I literally got my bag and I left. And then I left. Well, I had to leave anyway for a lecture, but I left extra early and I went home and I ended up not even going to the lecture. And my other friends who ran the society with me, they told me that the police later did show up. And it was like a whole thing. And I know that my other friends, they were targeted and harassed multiple times. It was horrible.
Over Malachiya?
Over the fact that we have a Palestine Society at the university and that we were being active. We had an event that was supposed to be joint with UNICEF about a Children's Relief Fund. I don't remember exactly what it was, but ended up getting shut down and we were investigated. And my friends were being harassed. One of my friends, she was followed to a salon and this lady's like, "Do you know who I am?" She's like, "I have no idea who you are." She's like, "I used to be in the IDF. I think you should take care of who you're friends with." Like, it was unbelievable that my friends were being stalked and harassed. And for me, I walked away and I stopped telling people. I don't have my friends don't have the luxury of saying they're from somewhere else. And I'm not I can blend in. I can tell people pretty much I'm from a lot of different places. I don't physically look like any, I'm not visibly Arab or visibly Muslim or visibly, if I go to some countries, I blend in easily, but some of my friends, they can't do that. So that was really terrifying. And I still feel a lot of shame that I made that choice to say that, no, I'm from Saudi Arabia when people ask me, "Where are you from?"
You were scared, you were young.
I was, but still, I wish I had the guts that, and even now, I say it now, but I know that it wasn't just then that I got scared, And obviously there's always an element of, when you travel, you shouldn't tell people everything about you, right? But just still, it's weird.
And could you tell us about the attack that happened to you?
Oh, she was just verbally attacking me, telling me that, I'm being anti-Semitic, I'm a bad person, I should go to jail, she's gonna call the embassy, they're gonna have my, not my scholarship, she didn't know I was on scholarship, they're gonna have my enrollment to the university be revoked. And I was like, what? Because of what? Because you were being anti-Semitic. Because I said Mulkhiyah is national day. She's like, because Palestine anti-Semitic. I was like, okay, whatever. And I walked away. I just walked away. I couldn't.
So she wasn't happy that you were there as a country, presenting the country. She wasn't.
I think so. I think that this is just my observation because I walked away, I ran away. But my other, as our society, when we tried to run some events, we were met with saying that, well, some people feel that you are threatening them or they feel unsafe to be around you guys because they feel unsafe. They don't say why they feel unsafe. They say we're being anti-Semitic or, existing is being anti-Semitic. Palestinian anti-Semitic. Existing, basically. That's what I understood from what we were told.
I'm sorry for all of that.
No, it's not your fault. It happens, and it happened to me, and it happens to a lot of other people, and it happened a lot worse to my friends, and it's happened in other countries and other places. It's not Unfortunately, it's not unusual.
How would you like to end this podcast? How would you like to close?
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I would say, on a positive note, that would be probably the best, is that yes, what's happening is horrible. There's nothing that could describe how horrible it is. However, we need to not stop talking about it. And we need to make people realize that this is real and this is happening. And yes, it will make people feel uncomfortable, but that's okay. You feel uncomfortable. People are dying. You feel uncomfortable, like for real. The positive thing is that we have certain powers as individuals and certain things that we can do, like I mentioned, boycotting, where you choose to put your money, elevate the voices of others who are there, who can speak and advocate, show support. Like, I cried when I went to the World Cup because I saw people with Palestinian flags. I cried because it makes me really happy that people are still standing up for justice for people. Even it's not their people, as I said, it's a humanitarian issue. I'm not standing up for Palestine because I'm Palestinian. I'm standing up for them because it's a humanitarian issue. I'm a human being. I'm standing up for humans, humanity. So that's what it is. Everybody has the power to speak up, hopefully. I hope. If not, you have the power to choose where your money goes, so you can do that. Or just educate yourself, educate others.
Thank you. Thank you so much.